Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. My name is Joe Lurie. I'm a product manager with Microsoft 365. I focus on deployment and management. I've got about 20 years experience with IT, all of it in deployment and management. And my experience with Configuration Manager goes as far back as SMS 2.0 and every version ever since. I am here today with my friend and colleague, Mayank. Mayank, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thanks, Joe. So, hello everyone. My name is Mayank Jain, and I'm a senior product manager for Microsoft 365 based out of Redmond in the US. Today, we're excited to talk about getting started with Microsoft Endpoint Manager, and we look forward to a great session with you.
Thanks, Mike. So everybody, normally at sessions like this, I start off with some surveys. How many of you are now managing remote devices? Just raise your hand. How many of you understand co-management? Just raise your hands. I can't do that today. You're not here with me. So I'm going to make some assumptions as to why you're here and probably some of the questions that are swirling around in your mind. Like, are you having to support a whole new class of users? Those users that use the desktop at work and are using their mobile devices or even their own personal laptops at home? Or are you new to modern management? If you're new to modern management and you want to know how Endpoint Manager can help, you're in the right session. In fact, you probably already own those licenses that you need, and Mayank will talk about that in just a little while. Are you curious about co-management, about tenant attach, or even about some of our new services like Endpoint Analytics? We're going to dig into those topics. We'll dig into those terms, and we'll show you how you can help your organization, help your employees stay secure, stay productive, especially in these, economically uncertain times when devices may or may not be on premises anymore. The new Endpoint Analytics is really going to help you with that. Again, we'll talk about that later on today, and help you gain visibility and insights into those devices. So really, let's just jump right in. In this session, we'll be showing you what is Microsoft Endpoint Manager. This is a product that we introduced you all to a little less than a year ago. So Mike and I are going to shed some clarity on what is Endpoint Manager. And then we'll talk to you about Configuration Manager and Tenant Attach. We'll talk to you about co-management. Don't worry, it's not all talking. We're going to demo a whole bunch of stuff as well. And you'll see some of those benefits that you're going to realize immediately. We'll talk to you about how to get those devices into your users' hands the most efficient way and make sure that they're secure right out of the box. With our zero-touch provisioning partners, this is all possible. Finally, you'll hear about how Endpoint Manager can help with your zero-trust security in those secure strategies with some of our new analytics offerings. Mike, why don't you go ahead and start talking about Microsoft Endpoint Manager?
Thanks, Joe. So Microsoft Endpoint Manager combines Microsoft Intune and Configuration Manager into a single platform and is available as part of the Enterprise Mobility and Security license. It provides the endpoint and security management plane to the Microsoft 365 solution stack. Many of you know Configuration Manager, or what used to be called System Center Configuration Manager, as the management tool for deploying and managing your on-premises Windows devices. And many of you know Microsoft Intune as the management tool to deploy and manage the mobile devices and the cloud-managed Windows 10 devices. In November of 2019, we introduced Microsoft Endpoint Manager with the goal of making it simple for you to take advantage of modern management by bringing together Configuration Manager and Intune into a single unified endpoint management solution. The new tenant attach capabilities in Endpoint Manager provide maybe one of the most flexible ways for Configuration Manager customers to start gaining cloud benefits without necessarily enrolling their Windows clients with Intune or the cloud. All you need to do is connect your Configuration Manager site to your cloud tenant, and a host of remote actions and analytics immediately become available to you. Some organizations may stay in this phase of modern management for a long time, and that is completely okay. Because you see, we see modern management as a spectrum and have designed this platform to serve organizations that are at different levels of tech intensity. So organizations that are ready for the next step can use what we call co-management to manage Windows using both Configuration Manager and Intune at the same time. This has seen a tremendous explosion in usage recently as organizations discover that this gives them a unique advantage in quickly enabling remote workers and remote users while dealing with all the additional challenges and uncertainty around us right now. Again, Customers can stay in any one or a combination of these paths for as long as they like, because modern management is not a destination, but a methodology. For new customers or new endpoints, we do recommend going to the cloud directly with Intune, and then existing customers can gradually move more workloads to the cloud over time. So a little later, Joe is going to talk to you about what exactly is co-management and why it is a unique, low-risk approach to transition fully to the cloud over time at your own pace. Our customer guidance is to meet the customers where they are. And let's be clear, co-management is a great place to be. For some customers, that is their journey's destination. We embrace that, and we encourage you to do so as well. Microsoft has been recognized as a leader in unified endpoint management by all major analysts such as Gartner, Forrester, and IDC. In the latest report for 2020 that released a few days ago, Gartner said, with the establishment of Microsoft Endpoint Manager, Microsoft offers the most used UEM tool on the market with significantly more devices under management than its competition. The links to these third-party reports are available on our website or upon request from your Microsoft representative. So with that, why don't you take it away, Joe?
Thanks, Mike. And everyone, as Mike mentioned a few minutes ago, Microsoft Endpoint Manager really is that marriage of Configuration Manager and Intune. And this is a connection that we've seen before, and many of you have done before. You've already connected your Active Directory to your Azure AD. You've connected Exchange and Exchange Online and SharePoint Online. And so now connecting that endpoint management solution, Configuration Manager to Microsoft Intune, it just makes sense. So what we're doing when we do that is we're taking all the abilities or all the devices that are currently managed on premises, we're moving those into the cloud while they may still be managed on premises. And we'll show you what we mean by that. As the slide in front of you says, connect what you have today. And this is something that many of you have started, again, many years ago. Now, when we talk about this, I'm actually going to show you this in just a minute. When you talk about connecting it, your Configuration Manager admins may or may not be Azure Global admins, so you might need some help with that. But when you attach Configuration Manager to Intune, that process that we call Tenant attach is that first step. It's fast, it's easy, and it's fairly low risk. You gain immediate values such as DLP or data loss protection. You gain conditional access once you do that connection to all those devices that are traditionally managed by Configuration Manager. But again, at this point, until you start moving workloads, your PCs are continuing to be managed by Configuration Manager. Then once the tenant is attached, you have the option to move selective workloads to cloud management. For instance, you can move Office Click to Run and Windows Updates from Configuration Manager over to Intune while leaving endpoint protection have Configuration Manager be that management authority. You can even start piloting things in Intune, piloting those workloads. So some of your devices are being managed in Intune while others are still being managed in Configuration Manager. Mike called this low risk because it truly is. If you decide that for whatever reason you want to take those workloads that you've moved over to Intune and bring them back to Configuration Manager while you work on some of your policies and settings, you can do that with an easy click as well. Mike, I mentioned earlier that you're going to talk about licensing. Can you bring us up to speed on what that licensing means? We've had a lot of questions about that.
Sure thing, Joe. I did want to quickly remind folks about the new co-management licensing entitlement. So the co-management licensing lets Configuration Manager customers with software assurance get Intune PC management without having to purchase and assign individual Intune licenses to users. So this license makes it easier for you to start your co-management journey and manage Windows devices with Endpoint Manager. If you happen to own the user subscriptions for EMS E3 or Microsoft 365 E3 or higher, you always had these entitlements. But with all things licensing, make sure to check out the FAQ and the product terms to dig into the fine print. And with that, let me show you a quick demo. So let me show you what this looks like. So we log in to our Configuration Manager console, and we go to the administration node and launch the co-management wizard. In the wizard, you'll now notice there is an option to upload the Configuration Manager data to the Microsoft Endpoint Admin Center. When you choose this, management of all your Windows clients remains on-premises. This step, that we call tenant attach, only synchronizes your configuration manager site with your cloud tenant. You can perform some remote actions on your on-premises clients without moving them to the cloud at this point. So now you can stay here, or you can continue to complete the co-management of your clients if that's what you want. It's an optional step. So you do that, and here you'll notice in the confirmation dialog that all your policy and configuration manager workloads are still going through configuration manager. When you do this, this is when your Windows clients start to be managed by both configuration manager and Intune at the same time.
Mike, I was just going to say, you may need to get some help from your Azure Global admins, and this is where you would need that help. You see that sign in button there. Have them sign in or work with them to make sure that tenant attach can actually happen.
That's right, Joe. But as you'll notice after you're done with this, in the confirmation dialog, all your policies and configuration workloads are still going through configuration manager. So even after you enable co-management, you stay in complete control of what workloads you want to move to the cloud and when.
All right, thanks, Mike. So as you can all see, what we've done is, again, we're under administration, cloud services, co-management, and Mike has just walked us through that co-management wizard. Now, I have the properties open, and I have it open because it does take 7 or 8 seconds to open once you right-click and click properties, and I didn't want to waste your time on that, so I've already opened it ahead of time. So you can see these settings. You can see like the Azure environment. You can see that my devices are being managed by Microsoft Endpoint Manager and whether or not I want to enable endpoint analytics. You can see more enablement. Do I want to automatically enroll in Intune? Yes or no? Just a pilot. If it's just a pilot, I can browse to that collection. It's the workloads that actually really bring the meat to this. And it's the workloads where I can say, I want compliance policies to move over to Intune. I want endpoint protection to move over to Intune, and that includes things like Microsoft BitLocker. Client apps, I'm going to go ahead and pilot that in Intune. And what you'll notice and this is stuff that we can do right in that original wizard, or I can do it after the fact, which means I can always come back to the properties and start moving a new workload. You'll notice in the staging, my compliance policies are already being managed by Intune, so I can't really browse for a collection, but I can in client apps. Rob York has a fantastic session on this as well, so make sure you do really get to the meat of it. You're going to want to visit Rob's session. And don't forget, once I've done this, and we've talked about this, if I decide for whatever reason I want endpoint protection to actually stay with Configuration Manager for a while, again, it's just sliding it all the way back down. All right, so that's the tenant attach, and that's co-management. And again, we have a lot of great info on that, so make sure you check it out. I want to start moving into shifting our focus over to zero-touch provisioning. One thing that we mentioned is zero-touch provisioning really means getting that device to the user's hands without IT having to touch it first, and making sure that it's secure and the user's productive right out of the box. We've heard from customers repeatedly that Windows Autopilot allows their users to work remote. It allows them to get that device while they're traveling, perhaps at a hotel, or if their device is lost or stolen, an easy way for them to get a brand new device and get it provisioned and secure right out of the box. We introduced Autopilot in 2017, July-ish 2017. And we introduced it at first to really help you help your customers or help your end users get that device that much quicker without spending too much time on it yourself. For example, how many of you, again, raise your hand, how many of you are responsible for your gold images? I know I was at my job before joining Microsoft. And how often did you have to create that gold image? Did you update that gold image? Did you add quarterly patches? Did you add applications, remove applications? Did you send that gold image over to the OEM vendor so that they can worry about putting that image on the devices before sending them? All that time, all that money, just wasted, spent, because Windows 10 comes with a device comes with Windows 10 already on it. And what we're effectively doing is removing it for our own Windows 10 version. Michael Niehaus and Ms. Rahman have a great session on Autopilot coming up later. So I'm not going to spend too much time about that. I just want to talk about that zero-touch provisioning. So when we talk about that, we're not only talking about Windows Autopilot, we're talking about all devices that can be shipped from an OEM directly to the end user while the user is secure and productive. And so it's not limited to Windows Autopilot at all. All of our partners are Apple, Android, Samsung. They all have zero-touch provisioning, and they're all integrated with Endpoint Manager. So I want to shift focus one more time over to security, and Mike's going to walk you through security. But remember, you want to check out that Autopilot session. There's one on managing Windows devices, and it's fantastic. And you'll hear from the rockstar Michael Niehaus himself. Mike?
Thanks, Joe. So we often hear customers say that security is the why they chose us, while cloud management is the how. So in addition to unifying the platform, Microsoft continues to invest in improving the end user and IT admin experience, integrating with endpoint security and identity systems, and expanded use of analytics, AI, and machine learning. So let's start with endpoint security. You can take two approaches to endpoint security management with Endpoint Manager. You can employ mobile device management, or MDM, to manage all aspects of the device. Or you can only manage select applications running on the device using an approach called Mobile Application Management, or MAM. MDM requires that the user enroll their device with the organization and allows for greater control of the device. All over aspects such as disk encryption, the camera being turned on or off, the network connectivity, the certificates, and so much more. But where user privacy is a higher priority, or the company doesn't own the device, MAM, or application management, makes it possible to apply the security controls at the app level. And these could be on non-enrolled devices or enrolled devices. So this way the organization can ensure that users can only use apps that comply with their security controls to access emails and Teams chats or files, or even to browse the web. But in both cases, once you grant data access, you can control what the user does with the data afterwards. For example, they cannot copy and paste from corporate apps to personal apps, or save data to untrusted locations. So they cannot store data to, say, their local disk or share via another app. They can only move data within trusted apps, such as between Microsoft 365 apps, Adobe Acrobat, or a whole bunch of partner apps that integrate with Endpoint Manager. You can enforce that people save their data to trusted locations such as OneDrive, so you don't have your intellectual property just lying around on a mobile device or a home device somewhere. And in case of a malware or any other security risk, the app or device is automatically isolated from the rest of the network. The bottom line is that you can explicitly verify and enable access to trusted and compliant apps on managed or unmanaged devices for an end-to-end zero trust security. At a high level, Endpoint Manager helps people work from any device while ensuring only trusted device and apps can access work data. So depending upon the ownership model, you could apply device level or app level controls to balance this user privacy and security needs of the organization. With the new Microsoft Tunnel app, you can now enable secure access to your intranet resources from mobile devices. Lance Crandall goes into a lot of details in his session, and I encourage you to watch it in the video hub. Microsoft is uniquely positioned to leverage the global cloud scale, the trillions of signals, and the deep expertise that we have to remediate and protect against device and app vulnerabilities without disrupting the end user experience. And I think that is really key for successful adoption and rollout of these services. This solution offers the key tools to tie it together. On one hand, that's policy-driven access, because modern microsegmentation requires that we gate access beyond networks, based on the role, the location, behavior patterns, device security, and much more. Ensuring that all the policy is automatically enforced at the time of access and then continuously throughout the session where possible is key. The other aspect is automated threat detection and response. Telemetry from the systems must be processed and acted upon automatically. Attacks today happen at the speed of cloud. Your defense system must also act at cloud speed to protect you. Microsoft Security integrates this intelligence with policy-based responses for real-time protection. Microsoft's approach to zero trust extends throughout the entire digital estate. It serves as an integrated security philosophy and end-to-end strategy. You will find deep dive sessions in our learning path to learn more about implementing zero trust controls across the 6 foundational elements, including verifying identities, verifying devices, protecting data, hardening applications, protecting infrastructure, and governing networks. Devices are one of the foundational elements of a holistic approach to zero trust security control. That's where the data lives after the user has accessed it. Devices can easily become the weakest link unless you enforce your security policies consistently and reliably, not only on the device itself, but also to the apps that run on it. Far too many security breaches occur due to issues as obvious as an outdated or missed security patch or a poorly configured app. If a device does not meet the security patch level set by the administrator, the user will be prompted to update the device before granting access. Again, I encourage you to check out other sessions, such as those by Matt Shadbolt and Dilip Radhakrishnan, who dig deeper into the endpoint security story, as well as sessions in the Zero Trust track, if that's of interest to you. With that, let's take a look at how it all comes together in the Admin Center with a quick demo. So this is our Microsoft Endpoint Manager Admin Center, which is a new home for Intune, as well as all of the new capabilities that we introduced as part of Endpoint Manager. It's available at endpoint.microsoft.com. And personally, I feel this is such a huge improvement in terms of the admin experience and the user experience for configuring your security policies, your configurations quickly. So it drops you into this home page. There's a dashboard in which you can get a quick look at all your devices that you're managing and their security compliance status. But what I really wanted to point out today is this new endpoint security node. This is a new node which provides several advantages, in my opinion. The first is it consolidates all the security related configurations and policies in one place, unlike the previous experience. Secondly, it helps streamline the security and IT operations in your organizations and optimizes the time to respond to security vulnerabilities. Remember, we spoke about the speed of cloud when it comes to attacks and response nowadays. And finally, it is the hub that unifies the endpoint security management across Microsoft Security, saving you the hassle of jumping between consoles. Let me show you what I mean by all three of these. You can already see here the first one, which is consolidation of your antivirus, your firewall, disk encryption, your conditional access, everything in one place. For example, if you wanted to configure your disk encryption, you could go in here and you can create a policy not just for your Windows platforms, but with BitLocker management, but also with macOS, with FileVault. So you get all of it in one place. Similarly, if you wanted to do conditional access, you could, this functionality itself is powered by Azure Active Directory, as you can see here, but you don't have to necessarily go to the Azure Active Directory console to manage it. Everything that you can do there, you can do right here. Again, saving you time and the hassle of jumping between consoles. You have all of the same options, the parameters, everything here. So that's how you can start to get some of that consolidation in your security policy. We have the other one I spoke about is to streamline the IT and security operations. What we have learned from customers is that many of them have a dedicated role that is responsible for deploying the security policies for the endpoints, but they're not really they don't have to deploy the device themselves or update the device, update the applications and so on. So that job typically belongs to an IT pro, sort of an admin. So what this node gives you is a role-based access control way of giving access to the security part to your security counterparts while having clear roles and responsibilities across the rest of the console. And finally, talking about unifying the different aspects of security, Microsoft Security, you will notice here that we've got Microsoft Defender ATP, which is tightly integrated with this experience. So you can onboard your devices for Microsoft Defender ATP on different platforms, including Windows and Android. You can do the management from here. In many cases, you might not have to go to the other console, but if you did want to go to the Defender ATP console, you can just click through and you can switch to the other console directly from this console itself. So which gives you a huge advantage there. The other ways that we have of integrating it is security baselines. So nowadays, security is not just about knowing what to do, but we give you guidance through the security baselines of what are the recommended configurations for security based on our learnings from our customers, from the cloud, and from security experts. So we have security baselines for Windows 10, for Defender ATP, and even for Microsoft Edge. And in future, we are working on security baselines for things like Office 365 and other services. So this really helps you start to bring together all of the different aspects of the network of the device estate that you are responsible to secure. So with that, I just wanted to again mention how endpoint security plays such a big role on top of the device management and app management that you use this product for. Now let's look at what's new in analytics. Joe?
Thanks, Mike. It's the security node within the endpoint.microsoft.com. It's fantastic, and it really shows all those insights and in some cases remediations as well on anything that's happening to your devices. And when we talk about insights, when we talk about what's going on and any kind of possible remediations or necessary remediations, that's where our analytics actually comes in. And we have a lot of analytics that are being worked on, that we're adding to, and some that are existing, things like desktop analytics that we introduced last year. Desktop analytics lets you see, okay, I have a Windows 7 device. I know I have one. How many of you have Windows 7 devices? So I have a Windows 7 device, and I want to make sure that the hardware on this device, I want to make sure the applications on this device are upgradable to the newest version of Windows 10. Or I have a Windows 10 device running maybe version 1709 or version 1809, and I want to see if it's compatible with everything required for Windows 10 version 2004. So desktop analytics gives you that kind of insight. It says, yes, all these apps are supported, or they work with Windows 10. These should be upgradable. This one may not, or this driver doesn't work, so you may want to uninstall the driver and reinstall it after the fact, which actually is one of the remediations. So besides for desktop analytics, we're introducing productivity score. Productivity score mostly works with things like our Office apps and with SharePoint and with OneDrive and even with Yammer. And it really shows how productive your users are, how collaborative they are, and really it shows you how they're doing their work. That itself is broken into employee experience score, and it's broken into the technology experience score, which might look at any kind of network interruptions. We have endpoint analytics. Endpoint analytics is one of our newer analytics offerings as well. Again, each one of these give you visibility, they give you insight, and then they give you some actions. Mike's going to go ahead. He's already had his web browser open. He's jumping at the bit to show you some productivity score and endpoint analytics to show you that console. So go ahead, Mike.
You're right about that, Joe. Let's get into our last demo set for today. So as you can see, I have the productivity score open here. This is one of our newest services. It's already super popular. I think we crossed something like 2 million devices in this service a few days ago, and it's probably a higher number now. So productivity score is really the part which helps you to transform how work gets done in your organization and really see whether and how people are using the technologies that you're making available to them. So you've got a few tiles here. You've got the tiles on communication, content collaboration, and mobility. So pardon the numbers here. We don't really, this is a demo. I don't actually have any users using it, so the score is 0. But as you start to use this, you will start to see your score in conjunction with your peer benchmark, which is other companies that are like yours, and how you can improve. That's what you'll start seeing here, some recommendations on how you can improve the score. When you talk about these different aspects, communication, so if you click into that tile, you can see how are people communicating nowadays. For example, are they still sharing files around, or are they using chat more than email? Are they using some of the newer technologies that you've made available to them? So here you can see how people are using your technologies, whether they're sharing files as attachments, which we know has led to multiple versioning, or it just leads to a lot of delay or conflicts while working together on a file, or are they using the shared capabilities of collaboration that Microsoft 365 makes possible? So this just raises the overall productivity of your organization. And then, of course, on mobility, that's one of the key areas where you want to see people getting work done, not just on their Windows devices or their Macs, but on any device. And Office 365 with Outlook and Teams, and we have all of our apps now available on mobile devices. So that's a great way to see that as well. And that brings me to this other part of productivity score, which we call Endpoint Analytics. And that is available to you in the Microsoft Endpoint Manager Admin Center under Reports. So this is currently in preview, but it's available to all of you to try out right away. Let me adjust the zoom here a little bit so you can see the whole screen. So you have more detailed sessions that will go into the details of this. So we have Shilpi and AJ Smith doing a session on productivity score. We've got Brian Taylor doing a session on endpoint analytics. So do check out those videos. But what I really wanted to show you quickly is what this looks like, because we've been talking a lot about these insights and analytics. So what endpoint analytics does is it helps you, with the relative measure of the time it takes your machines to boot up, for your users to sign in, and the health of your devices, the health of your network. So in the middle here, you see the score, again, your own score versus a baseline of your peers. You see insights and recommendations on to the right of that page, where you can see what are some of the things you can do to further improve your experience. For example, it says here that 83% of the Windows 10 devices are not currently using autopilot. But if you did use autopilot, then your score would jump by, say, 6 points, because it would just make provisioning and updating machines faster. Or 33% devices are not enrolled in Azure Active Directory. And if you did move to Azure Active Directory, that would boost your score by a few points over there. And then you can go into more details. You can start looking at the startup performance of the different devices you have. You can compare the different models in your organization to identify which models are doing better than others, which devices are doing better than others, what processes are maybe causing some of the slowness in startup, and so on. And then we have proactive remediations, which is a really powerful feature, which helps you to proactively remediate some of the common issues that can happen. And this is important now more than ever, because employees are no longer in the offices, right? Most of us are now scattered. We are working remotely, and there is no help desk that we can just walk up to get a minor thing fixed. So having a solution like this really helps you bring down the cost of maintaining a help desk and just the sheer load on the help desk, apart from the fact that end users can get their problems solved very quickly before they even feel them or before they even see them happening. So that's one of the things that I wanted to check out when you go back and see endpoint analytics on your own. So that's endpoint analytics, and we hope you have fun using it when you go back home and try it on your own. So with that, Joe, take us home.
Thanks, Mike, and thanks so much for your help today, and thanks everyone for sticking with us. We took you through a long path. We took you through zero-touch provisioning and security and some of our analytics offerings, and really about MEM, about that tenant attach and that co-management of Configuration Manager and Intune. Wherever you are in that journey, wherever you are, whether you're still thinking about cloud attach, whether you're in the middle of cloud attach, Microsoft Endpoint Manager really is that hub for you. Within that hub, we can help you with your Mac, your iOS, Windows devices, your Android devices. We can help manage them. We can help protect the applications that live on them. And because we use such a powerful data set, so many signals that come from so many different devices, we have all that intelligence as well. We deliver the analytics to keep you ahead of change so you can keep your costs down. So again, thanks so much for joining us on this introduction, getting started with Microsoft Endpoint Manager. We have dozens of videos, dozens of sessions available from subject matter experts from our product group, and so much more learning even after those. You can find all that information at aka.ms/Microsoft Ignite 2020/MEM. Thanks so much, everyone.